life. You know, a song has
that much power,
that much ability, in itself.
Also, I admire these people that are able to like send out a message through art, through music. Through, you know, that's a beautiful trait to have.
It is definitely, and they were children at one stage.
Imagine.
But now they are parents themselves.
You know,
I guess because we're talking about
which actually brings us to Mom's Club every Wednesdays.
Yes.
Just after 12. Welcoming Pastor Desiree. The last time we saw her was the other Wednesday, so it's good to have you back, Pastor Des. Good day. Good day.
Welcome back. Welcome back, Pastor Des. She left us in stitches the last time.
Please, you need to repair what you left because it's been a while.
It has been a while. Welcome back, Pastor Des, and continuing on Mom's Club, maybe someone that is tuned in for the first time and they don't know who Pastor Desiree is, who you are. Just a quick one, briefly.
Okay, I'm Desiree Retta. I belong to Durban Christian Center, Wentworth. I'm married to Neville Retta, handsome guy. And we have 4 beautiful children. Well, mine is one that went to be with the Lord. So yeah, that's who I am.
Your mom.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, a mom.
Beautiful. I wish one day I could also speak about my husband like that. Even, and it's so beautiful because it's been rooted in Christ that even after so many years you can proudly say, you know, such a beautiful
42
thing.
years.
42 years of marriage. And you're still looking so young.
Wow, thank you.
She looks so beautiful.
She looks so beautiful. I mean, unfortunately we on air, but if you could see what we sing right now at home, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Such a beautiful.
Of course, they can always go to YouTube
and have a look.
YouTube and have a look.
It is the Lord's doing.
And listen.
It's the Lord's doing.
And check out this video. Positives. You know, you may just mention that she still is able to. She's still able to actually speak of her husband in this manner,
even
after so many years of marriage. Which brings me to this particular question. I know, Lulu, sometimes people get married and you find that things are
completely different. Personality-wise.
Yes, personality-wise. And because of that, then you find that parenting-wise also
it also differs.
Is affected. You know? How did you, how are you and Pastor Neville? Are you guys, in terms of parenting, can you say that?
How do you find common ground? Because obviously you have a different way of parenting and Pastor Neville has a different way of parenting.
But maybe you never know. Maybe they are the exact same kind of personalities.
Or do you adjust over the years?
I think we did adjust over the years, and he was the one that did a lot of the discipline. Well, not with the belt, with the mouth.
All right.
But I think we complemented one another in the discipline as well. Right. So that was good. Where I felt certain things should be done, and we agreed to disagree.
Right.
Yes.
You agreed to disagree. But there were moments where you felt like maybe you are both different in styles of parenting.
Oh yes.
All right.
Yes.
And I'm getting back to this one because I think it's very important. Sometimes as parents, the father has another style of parenting and the mother, and sometimes they feel that the other feels that you are undermining my style of parenting, and you understand. How do we find a common ground if it happens that we are both different kind of personalities, and even in parenting that actually portrays in our parenting styles?
I think sometimes the best way is to allow one of the parents to maybe handle the situation.
Right.
Because you find out that in some cases where one of you would handle, because sometimes the husband's at work, and you have to sort the situation out. And so I think in most cases it's nice to allow the head of the home to handle the disciplining, because when two of us want to discipline, then that's where I think different and he thinks different. So
Yeah.
we allow the one, and for me, the head of the home, to do the disciplining, you know, and I think children have much more of a respect when the father takes his place and do the disciplining. Yes, I did, you know, in years past, but on a small scale. A lot we would say, you know what, Dad will sort that out.
Right.
Yeah. But I did have my part as well.
And this is, I think this is the best one, okay? Were you the kind of mom that would say, okay, like something would happen during the day and Dad is not at home, and you would just look with one eye, and then when Dad comes, you go straight to Dad and you're like, this is what she did, this is what he did. Of course, Daddy wasn't there, and then all of a sudden, Dad is ready to
work.
to work or discipline, and then it's like, oh,
Mom, how could you?
How could you?
But I think certain things. It depends on it depends on the situation of what the child did. You know? And then sometimes it's not necessary to go and tell Dad now, because it's something that you can sort out.
That's true.
But if it's something where the child needs to hear Dad's voice concerning that, and then we will bring it up, and then they will say, oh, but Mom, how did we do that, you know? But yes, Dad has to take his place, and you growing up children for the next generation to take into their own homes and do the same that they learned and saw. Discipline is not nice, but it makes your children better.
Yes,
it really does, you know.
Sure.
And people shouldn't shy away from discipline, because sometimes you think discipline and you'd automatically think, oh, it's whacking a child, or it's, you know, but sometimes it's just a bit of straightening with your words. You can tell a child that so and so and so. Which brings me to my next question, because obviously the way in which you raised your children, the way in which things were at the time you had your first child, is obviously different to today. So what can you say is the most important thing, or what has stood out for you in society nowadays, especially pertaining to raising children?
I think when it comes to discipline, you know, today it seems like there's not much of it happening. You know, if you look at it today.
Sure.
Because okay, I'll just use me as an example in my home and my children. You know, they are angels. But if you look at my children today, you would still see the same pattern. There's no change. You know, and I think because it's something that it's something that you do on a daily basis. You know, pruning and disciplining and guiding and protecting your children. And so today there's a great lack of discipline, because if you look into our society and our young people, you'll find out that there's a lot of waywardness, you know. And I think well, it's a whole nother chapter, because it all stems from the home and the upbringing as well, you know. Sometimes a single parenting, and it can be difficult. But I take off my hat to those single parents that are really, you know, bringing up their children in the way and in the fear of the Lord. So yeah, it's a lot different today, you know. But we gotta go stick to the manual, the Bible.
Yeah, I think Malungi, what Pastor Des said about discipline and the lack of it nowadays is it's so true, because I think the worst thing or the worst situation to find yourself in is for you to fear your own child, and you don't want to discipline your child, which was something that I actually want to ask you about, Pastor Des, is how do you deal with a situation like that, where you feel like the child is so intimidating and they can't be disciplined? As a mom, what is the first route you think you take in a situation like that?
Oh, that's like something terrible, where you fear to discipline your child. But look again, it doesn't just happen at that time. It doesn't just happen at that time. It happens. It started somewhere where we put our guards down as parents, you know, and allowed that child or those children to do as they please and not do the disciplining when we should.
Yes.
And so when we come to this point in our lives where the children we are scared to discipline, then it goes back to what did we do?
Right.
Where did we go wrong as
Right,
parents?
right.
You know?
You know, I think I agree there. For example, and I think this will help even single moms or
Yes.
single dads that are
Mhm.
listening. You know, from a child, there's that thing of kids of wanting to do what they want to do when they want to do it,
How they want to do it.
while they're still small.
That's right.
And sometimes you find that we let our guards down, as Pastor Des, you said, we let our guards down, and the child grows with that kind of attitude
Yes.
until they get now
Yes.
to a space where you can't tell them anything
Yes.
because now they are big.
Mhm.
They've
You
been
know,
comfortable with that
They've been
all along.
comfortable with that all along.
Mhm.
They must tell you what they want.
Mhm.
So I think for single moms and single dads, it's good to actually pamper our babies,
Mhm.
you know. But there's a time when you have to just keep sowing words,
Yes. Yes.
you know.
Yes.
To talk about that, the importance of sowing words in them at a tender age, so that they don't grow up as monsters and be monsters,
Mhm.
you know, when they are old. Because sometimes what you see today is something that was
Planted
that
from
was
a-
planted
Mhm.
yesterday.
Mhm.
You know, how important is that?
Yeah. You see, there has to be balance.
Mm.
There has to be the pampering,
Right.
Right?
Yes.
but there has to be the other side of the pampering,
Right.
where you gotta spare the rod. You know. So what happens in today's society? You know, the child wants that thing, and the mother will just give it,
Right.
or else the child will throw a tantrum.
Mm.
And because now you know you just give it to him because he's irritating you, or you're busy talking, or you know you're doing something, and so you just let him have his way, and that's the monsters that we raise. You understand? So disciplining the child from small is very, very vital, very, very important.
Right.
Because you will find out that when I don't give my child his or her way, they begin to grow and understand. No,
Right.
I can't have it like that.
Right.
I can't be like that
Right.
because mom already disciplined me for that. So
Right.
it's an ongoing process until your child is that age where I'm not afraid to even still discipline him. But you asked a question just now about, you know, what happens when you're afraid to discipline your child. Your child has gone so violent, you know.
And he's throwing tantrums
Just
now.
throwing tantrums, you know. So you it will not reach to that place if you do your job your job properly from small.
Right.
You don't have to have a monster.
Right.
You don't. I don't have monsters.
Right.
If up until today my kids are all married and they're all grown up,
Right.
but I can tell them no, that's not right, and then listen.
Right.
They're not rude.
Right.
They won't click.
Right.
They won't click their
Yes.
tongues.
Right.
And God is my witness. I've never heard my children click their tongue. You know, and you know, and just you just you know,
Right.
you know the hand, talk to the hand, you know, kind of thing.
Yes.
No, and I thank God for that because we stood from small,
Right.
from growing up.
Right.
We did not let them have their own way, and we loved them.
Right.
We
right.
cared for them,
Right.
and that is why we have a beautiful product today.
Right.
Amen.
You know, while Pastor Daisy is there, I'm thinking of a child maybe because they are so cute when they are small. Sometimes you don't want to raise your voice or discipline a certain way. You just want them to have their way. You know, for example, look at a child when you say no to this, who will throw themselves down and you know, in Zulu we say "Bukuza phansi," you know.
In public,
In
even
public, you know.
sometimes you have to give them their way just because you're in a public space.
You're in public space, and at home even they will just roll on the floor and you know until you have to do something. What are some of the what's the word? There's a word I'm looking for. It's like, what are some of the dangers of that when you're a parent and you have a child that will actually do that? And because they are cute, you just wanna
Give them their way.
my boy, oh my girl.
Okay, here you
know,
go.
oh here you go.
Yes.
And then you find that sometimes even in the midst of people they will do that.
Yes.
And then they will until they grow up to be old. Now what happens when they are old? They are even ready to punch you, I'm sure.
You know they embarrass you from small if you don't give them, if you don't allow them to have their way.
Right.
If you chastise them and if you discipline them from small,
Right.
even when they're growing up, let's say they're at the age of 10,
Right.
they won't embarrass you. Why? Because they know I can't do that.
Yeah.
But we see it today, how children throw tantrums. I want that. And you know, and the parents are so embarrassed that they just give it because they don't want to be embarrassed in public.
Right.
Do you understand?
Right.
But
right.
we don't have to have those kids. We don't have to be embarrassed if you're doing your work at home, in your home, properly. You don't have to have those kids.
Right.
Like you said, Malungi, that, oh, it's so cute, you know. You'll hear some of the parents saying, say that word, and they'll swear. And they'll laugh. They say, "Oh, look how cute it sounds." It's not cute.
But one day it's going to be a monster
It's a
swearing
monster.
at everyone.
Yeah, we're feeding that monster. It's cute. You're feeding it, you know, and it's growing. And then one day we talk about those monsters. When now that they're big, we can't control those monsters. It's way out of our control.
Right.
We fed that monster,
Right.
so you got to pay the consequences of what you've sowed into that child's life.
Right.
You know.
Which goes back to the importance of forever sowing seeds of greatness, of love. Right.
Yes. And then if you got to spank the child, you know, what we did, but that was very, very, very rare, you know. We would say, I'm doing this, I'm taking the rod,
right,
or I'm taking the belt because I love you. And I have to do this so that you know that next time I must not do this.
Right.
You know, and you find that you hardly use the rod because when you speak, the child listens and understands because you're explaining why you're doing that.
Right.
I'm hitting you because this is what you've done and you shouldn't have done that.
Yes. Now, one parent may say, you know, but I beg to differ because my son just wouldn't listen to anyone. How important is laying of hands and praying for them while they are asleep? If we are noticing that there's something unusual in this child, the way he throws tantrums or the way she throws tantrums is not normal. How important is laying our hands and praying for them and speaking life over them?
Very, very, very important. That's why it goes back to the family altar.
Right.
Family altar is not a prayer meeting with your family.
Right.
No, it's not a whole happy prayer meeting.
Right.
Family altar is sitting at the table and speaking, breaking bread. You know, and that is where now we would speak life and hope into our children.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
And like you said, laying of hands. Yes. We ask the high priest, which is the head, our husbands, you know, the fathers. If he's not there and he doesn't exist, then the mother rises up to that position, you know.
Right.
And then she speaks forth life over her children. She lays hands on them, you know. And even maybe while they're sleeping as well, just go and lay your hand on them and Father, I thank you, you know, and speak life and even prophesy over these children. We life and death is in the power of our tongue. So what we speak over our children is very, very important.
I liked that you brought in the prayer aspect because it takes me to something that I also wanted to find out. That of course you've got different roles. You are a mother, you are a wife, you are a daughter. And how different do you think all those roles would be if you had not chosen to be centered on the word and centered in Christ?
Very, very, very different. I would have had monsters, for sure, you know. And so because I didn't know any better.
Yes.
And but because my life was centered around the word and in the word, that's what makes the big difference. You know, definitely does. Yeah.
So it does make a difference. So there's a mom, a dad who's tuned in. They don't even know what to do anymore because their kids or their child, they find their child just doing like weird things, you know. And this is a small child. You know, I once had a story, a quick one, of an 8-year-old who will even stand before her father and say, I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna go away with my mom. I'm gonna kill you and I'm gonna kill you this one, I'm gonna kill that one. You know, so there's a parent who's been having a problem with this. It's like there's a monster in a child, in a small child. You know, what do they do? How do they address such a thing? Or perhaps they've never given their lives to Jesus, so they have no way. They don't understand. You know, it's like, you know, in Zulu we say, you know, I just saw